If you've ever avoided delivering feedback because you didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, or you gave feedback and there was backlash, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Larissa Harrington, leadership and well-being coach, and today I want to chat about something that is important in all of our relationships, personally and professionally, and that's feedback. I want to share some tips on how we can deliver honest and effective feedback that honors both the individual, our relationships, and our goals. And so, why does feedback matter? Feedback is not just about making corrections, feedback is about clarity and connection. And when feedback is done well, it builds trust, it supports growth. Feedback can help keep our teams aligned, help keeps our relationships aligned. When not done well, feedback can create resentment, defensiveness, and disconnection. So, when we think about being a mindful leader, it's not just about what we say, but it's also how we say it, when we say it, and why we say it. So, starting with tip number one on delivering honest and effective feedback, why? What is the intention of the feedback that we want to deliver? And so that means getting clear before we deliver this feedback. Why does it matter? What is important, right? Is my goal to really support this person's growth? Is it to invest in the relationship? Or is it that I just want to vent or fight or be right about something? Feedback should come from a place of care and not criticism. And people can sense our genuine intention when we're going into these conversations. So, tip number one, get clear on your intention. And before we even deliver the feedback, make sure that it's coming from a genuine, kind, caring place, that we want to invest in the person. We want to invest in the product or end result. We want to invest in the relationship. Tip number one, getting clear on the intention. And tip number two, focusing on our observations, not our assumptions. So when we are delivering feedback, we want to use specific examples of behaviors, not assumptions about clarity. We're not saying, oh, you are lazy or not a good worker. We're saying, I noticed this specific behavior, right? I noticed that you arrived at this time when you are meant to arrive at this time, or that this thing that you turned in was turned in at this time instead of the deadline that we agreed upon, which was this time, right? We want to give clear examples of whatever it is that would like to deliver this feedback on. Oftentimes, we are coming from a place of frustration and aggravation, and we just kind of start venting and rambling on about all of the things that we're irritated by. Slow down, be clear on the intention, and then make sure that we're focusing on the specific examples of things that we'd like to deliver the feedback on. Tip number three, make it a dialogue. This is not just about saying, hey, you're doing all of these things wrong. We want it to be a dialogue. We're inviting in conversation, not just lecturing someone else. Because oftentimes there is some miscommunication, or there are things that we are not aware of that are impacting this person's ability to perform or do the job that they were supposed to be doing. So invite the conversation, make it a dialogue, ask clarifying questions, right? Can you tell me how you experience that? Is there anything that I'm missing? What might support you moving forward? So we're giving the specific examples of what is going on and also offering, hey, this is what we need to happen. This is what we need to work on. If it's a tardiness thing or a work quality thing or a communication thing, right? Stating, hey, this is the fact. This is what's happening. This is what needs to happen, and inviting in that dialogue. Because oftentimes it is something that can be addressed. Maybe it is a skill thing. They need to learn a different skill to be able to do the task that we intended for them to do. Or maybe there was a miscommunication. So we want to make sure that we're addressing the right issues, getting to the root cause of what is the problem that we are trying to address. Because when we are always ignoring or avoiding the conversation, right? Many of us are conflict avoidant and we just don't even say anything at all. And the resentment and frustration builds in us, or we say it out of frustration and we're not really clear on what is expected. And the other person might not even be clear on how they're supposed to do the thing that we are asking them to do. We want to make sure there is dialogue there. And that brings us to tip number 4, which is balancing that honesty with compassion. We can be clear and kind while delivering feedback. Oftentimes, we have this idea that feedback has to be negative, or there's this negative, you know, negative emotions that are surrounding the feedback. All conflict doesn't need to be negative, right? Giving somebody feedback doesn't need to be negative. It can be a positive experience. Again, when we're coming from this place of genuine care and concern, we care about investing in this individual, investing in the relationship. We need to be able to show that to the other person that, hey, here's the clarity, but I can also be kind and share compassion while I am delivering this feedback to you. And so focusing on how we can be direct and clear and kind in our communication. And so that means also being aware of how we're showing up. And sometimes we need to know about ourselves that we're a little bit too activated or we're a little bit too frustrated to go into the conversation where we can show up clear, kind, and direct. And so maybe we need to take a step back and do our own, regulation work around toning it down a bit before we go into this conversation. So that, again, going back to that first focus or tip around our intention, know why we're having the conversation, right? Delivering feedback should not just be about yelling at someone for doing something wrong, because that typically is not going to get us the results that we want, which is having strong relationships and also having great work product, right? We want people to feel safe in the workspace or safe in our relationship, and also be able to perform and do the work that we intend for them to do. So checking in with ourselves, make sure we're in the right state of mind before having the conversation, and then focusing on why we're having it, focusing on building that relationship while also delivering this clear, kind feedback. And when we're delivering the feedback, not getting it buried in the fluff. Yes, depending on what kind of the relationship, but also the feedback that we are delivering will determine how long of a conversation this might be. So if it is something that, hey, every week we have a feedback session, or every month or every quarter, whatever it is, it might be a longer thing where we say, hey, these are the things that are working. You're doing these things really well. Be specific. And hey, these are the things that we'd like to work on. But sometimes we're delivering feedback for a specific thing that just happened, right? In that case, we don't need to make it long and drawn out. If it is, let's say, working on a specific matter or piece of work that they're doing, could say, hey, these are the things that you did really well with this specific piece of work, and these are the things that we'd like to focus on improving in the future. Making sure that there's clarity, making sure the other person understands. So we're talking mostly about delivering a feedback in a professional setting, but the same thing can be used when we're delivering feedback in any sort of relationship. And that's that we're getting clarity on, is the message that we are sending the same message that they're receiving. So getting that feedback from the other person. What do you understand, right? What are you taking away from this? Do you have any questions for me? Is there any support that you need so that you can be successful with this thing? We don't just want to talk at someone and say, oh, we gave them this feedback. Let it be a dialogue and make sure that there's clarity on the other side as well. So be clear, be concise, be supportive. And then the last tip is the timing and the energy matter. So I shared a couple moments ago, right? Like, don't go deliver this feedback when emotions are high for yourself or for the other person, but also make sure we're not waiting until an annual review or some far off time period before we give feedback about something that is important. Because again, somebody can just continue doing the same behavior, have the same performance that is not working for us. And then we can continue just feeling irritated or resentment because the person is not performing in the way that we want. So check in with yourself, make sure that you are, mentally, emotionally ready to have the conversation, but don't put it off for too long, personally and professionally. If there's something that needs to be addressed, make a plan to address it. Don't put it off because things don't just go away on their own. And it takes up even more mental energy thinking about the stuff that's not being done, or going to bed at night thinking about, oh, this person is still doing this thing that is so frustrating to me, or I'm having to do their work for them, whatever the case may be, because we didn't just deliver the feedback. So checking in with yourself, make sure that you are mentally, emotionally ready, and then having the conversation as soon as possible, getting the clarity from the other person to make sure you're on the same page and make sure that you're coming from a place of care and that you're being consistent with the message that you're delivering. So I hope this was helpful as we think about delivering feedback in an honest and effective way. Bottom line, don't put it off. Make sure that you are delivering feedback that needs to be delivered so that y'all can move forward, so that you're not carrying around all the negative emotions around it, and that the other person can start working on the things that they need to address so that they can improve. All right, thanks for being here. Drop a comment if this was helpful for you, and if there are any other topics that you would like me to focus on. Have an amazing day. Thanks for being here. See you soon. Bye.